I said in my last video in talking about traveling, primarily, of course, related to what's going on here in America, that if you had planned on getting out, that you're going to need to get out much sooner than later. Now, this, of course, is to our neighbors to the north up here in Canada. And Canada has imposed some very interesting and stringent restrictions moving forward in relation to the disease at hand. And if we really start to think about what's going on, it's very dystopian in their viewpoint. And people are surprisingly in favor of this. Now, we're going to go ahead and read some of the tweets coming from Mr. Trudeau. Now, of course, this is in relation to travel. It says now is not the time to travel. If you have plans to head anywhere for the long weekend, cancel them. It says there are other safer ways that you can connect with your family and friends. For those who need to travel, take note of the measures that are in place when you return to Canada. Now, I want you to think about how are these changes going to impact airlines? How is that business going to stay afloat if this is the mindset that many who are maybe need to travel for business or who are looking to travel for pleasure, maybe they want to go on vacation because many people have been locked down for so long. He goes on to say, if you're flying back into the country, you'll need to show a negative PCR test result before you board the plane. Before you get on, you got to take a PCR. PCR has to be negative. It says when you land, you'll need to take a PCR test again. You'll then have to wait. You'll then have to wait at an approval hotel at your own expense for the results to come back. Now, here in New York, I recently went to what's it called, City MD, and of course they have a sign posted that because they're free, right? Because you can just go up to there. I should say free because it's paid for via taxation. And of course, people will go there. And so because of the backlog, now they say they have, I think it's a 3 to 5 day before you get your test. But I'm like, well, wait a minute. If you're trying to get on a plane, you have to show a negative test within the past 3 days. And if you have a 3 to 5 day backlog, that means that by the time I get my test, I won't be able to get on the plane. Right? And it goes on to say, again, it says, if your results come back negative, right? So while you're waiting, you'll stay at the hotel for 3 to 5 days at your own expense, right? The test comes back negative, and it says you'll be able to head home and finish your mandatory quarantine there. If your test results come back positive, you'll need to immediately quarantine at a designated government facility. Now, what does that sound like? It says if you're returning through our land border, you'll need to show a negative PCR test that has been taken within the past 72 hours. On top of that, you'll have to have a PCR test when you arrive. And you'll have to take another one towards the end of the 14-day quarantine. Says the border measures are some of the strongest in the world, and they're in place to keep you, your loved ones, and your community safe. You know, the Germans during Nazi Germany time period said the exact same thing. They said that everything that we're doing is for your safety. And one of my last videos, I actually posted the actual the phrase that they would often utilize that basically said that everything that we're doing for your safety. And this is often the guise that they use. They use the terms safety, right? To keep your community safe, to keep you safe, to keep your loved ones safe. And it sounds great as they throw you into a box cart on your way to a government facility. Now, what happens if you test positive? I mean, I've done numerous videos showing how a lot of these tests, they've been false positives, and many of the individuals who have come back positive had no symptoms. And of course, they'll test you towards the end, right? So you get thrown into one of these facilities and you have to stay there for 14 days. What do you think that's going to do to your job prospects, if you even have a job, right? And this, of course, is to hinder travel. And I said this before, that if you're thinking of getting out of these countries that are basically going this route, You better get out sooner than later, because what's going to happen to the industry, right? What's going to happen to the airline industry if they collapse? And then your only way to get out is via land, going through all these different borders. And I said it before, is what is the likelihood of the country that you're trying to flee to accepting you? Going on. It says talking about these border measures. It says for more information on what you can expect, you can check here to return to Canada and how you can be prepared. And the scariest part for many people in Canada is what Mr. Trudeau says right here. This is not optional. Now, it's really sad that people don't push back against these. You even have people here saying you are an amazing person from Texas. Right? You have, sir, please enforce masks, quarantines, and respect for all Canadians. Literally, until they lead you into the box carts. And you say, thank you, Mr. President. It amazes me that this is where we are at in our time, with all the use of technology and free flow of information via social media, that people just accept. No one pushes back. No one pushes back against these things, all under the guise for your protection. How do you think this is going to work out later on in life? Maybe you're a person and you're like, I don't want to take that vaccine. Welcome to the Gulag.